Epic plans to update Fortnite's in-game store with the undo button that would let player refund purchases of cosmetic items purchased with in-game V-Bucks currency within 5 minutes of the purchase. Noting as well that the company does not want to benefit from accidental or regrettable purchases, the ease with which players can spend Fortnite's premium currency, either intentionally or accidentally, is the topic of many heated replies in the original Reddit postwag. Epic mentions its pending undo system and concerns over the ease of making in-game purchases, sometimes unintentionally, in games played by children is an issue game developers have been aware of for some time now. As pointed out in the Reddit thread, Fortnite's current store purchases an item immediately upon clicking, pressing, or tapping that purchase button. However, the Japanese version of Fortnite takes players to a confirmation screen ahead of any cosmetic purchase, a feature not present in other versions of the game. Later on in that thread, an Epic Games employee showed up to say that there are not plans to bring that same confirmation screen to the West, but that Epic has an undo button planned to the start page in a future update. We neither want to add friction for our players, or do we want to benefit from accidental purchases or players regretting a purchase, said that developer. The game currently has a token-based refund system that gives players a set amount of lifetime refund requests for accidental purchases made within the last 30 days. The dev explains that original solution has now evolved into an undo button in the store that allows you to easily refund without using up a token within a 5-minute time window, assuming you have not started a match since purchase, though no timeline is given for when this feature will show up in Fortnite. Newsbrief: the mobile studio's Viper has closed a round of funding that sees the German company walking away with an additional $2.8 million for its future projects. That's according to a VentureBeat story that says the latest round saw contributions from all of Viper's existing shareholders, though modern times growth plagued the round. The team, meanwhile, plans to use the funds to expand its business and grow the studio. To date, Viper has raised $5.3 million since 2016. The 1-0 developer company released its first game Super Spell Heroes for iOS and Android last year, and the representative from Matic explains in a statement that the success of that game motivated its investment. Platinum Games announced today that its contract with Cygames has ended, and it will no longer be involved with developing the action role-playing game Granblue Fantasy Relink. The company explained this new development in a blog post, writing how development will still continue, but be handled solely by Cygames' internal development team. Platinum Games had previously been co-developing Granblue Fantasy Relink with Cygames since 2016. We would like to express our thanks to everyone who has shown interest in the project, and ask that the same support should continue for Granblue Fantasy Relink as its production continues forward. The post continues. Platinum Games' logo has since been removed from Granblue Fantasy Relink, and the company has removed the game from their games list on their website as well. This makes sense, considering the contract has ended and Cygames has full development reigns over Granblue Fantasy Relink. Cygames put out a brief statement as well, confirming that, going forward, Cygames will handle 100% of development internally. PlayStation has reviewed the games at LL be offering free to PlayStation Plus subscribers next month, and in doing so reviewed the last games to come to both the Vita and PS3 through the program. It's been over 12 years since the PlayStation 3 first launched, and only 7 since the Vita debuted. So the idea that Sony would leave its legacy systems behind as it continues on with its current generation hardware is not an entirely shocking one. After all, the company made a similar cut by removing both platforms from its PlayStation Now program way back in 2017 as well. Though PlayStation 3 and Vita players will still be able to access their library of previous PlayStation Plus titles, PlayStation will not be offering free games for either platform. After this final fire, the PS3, Best Division and Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, the Vita Skullhouse and Raw Gases, if the rotation on March 8th. The company originally announced that it would be pulling the plug on the PlayStation 3 and Vita side of its Plusbox about this time last year. So today's reminder should not come as a surprise by any means. Both platforms have also seen a decline in support for some time, leading up to both the initial announcement and today's reminder as well. Particularly the PlayStation Vita, which is due to end production in Japan sometime this year. At the 2019 Game Developers Conference, you can look forward to an array of talks from speakers across the video game industry. During the week, you will hear from industry legends, niche experts, and amazing advocates, many of whom will want to learn about you and your work as much as you do theirs. During this year's conference, you will get to hear from Sledgehammer Games' Riley Peach, who will be discussing the making of Call of Duty, a social hub, where players can gather, open reward boxes, and display the emotes they have earned in-game. If you think such a feature might belong in your game, read on for a quick chat with Peach about his work. Could you please introduce yourself and your role at Sledgehammer Games? My name is Riley Peach. I am a multiplayer systems designer at Sledgehammer Games. I spent a majority of my time on Call of Duty, helping to build headquarters, our large social hub that serves as a launch pad and return point for multiplayer matches in the game. What was the inspiration for developing a social hub for Call of Duty? What were some of the core tech challenges needed to build this space? When we were developing Call of Duty, there were a lot of reasons that made a social hub compelling, both from a player experience and developer standpoint. On the player experience side, we felt being immersed in the game world with other players is more enticing while you are between multiplayer matches. A ton of interesting and organic social interactions occur as people either get ready to enter matches or idle during downtime outside of the core multiplayer experience. From a developer standpoint, headquarters also presented that opportunity to introduce new mechanics and systems that would have otherwise felt out of place in multiplayer combat. Easter eggs hidden behind jump puzzles, short and sweet mini-games, interesting non-player characters, things that make multiplayer games fun, but have a hard time integrating smoothly with a fast-paced, competitive multiplayer setting. Since building something of this nature was a first for us, it presented a lot of challenges, some of which we saw coming, others which caught us by surprise. The obvious stuff, like supporting a higher player count, was always on our roadmap, but many things compound with that in ways that forced us to stretch to make this happen. For instance, it's natural for players to customize their gear and weapons in Call of Duty, and when 48 people can equip 48 different uniforms with 48 different weapons, which was also the first for us, we had to get creative about how to keep all of that in memory. On top of that, We needed to explore support for multiple parallel online sessions. When you are in headquarters, you are connected to 47 other players. You, and all of those 47 players, can also be simultaneously connected to a different multiplayer lobby of up to 70 other players. We did not want people to have to log out of headquarters just to queue up for a match. So matching these two separate online sessions to work seamlessly was a challenge we had to overcome. What did you learn about the nature of social spaces in match-driven, multiplayer games like Call of Duty? That's a question that hits on what we were asking ourselves from the start. How do we meaningfully disrupt a session pattern that is pretty ingrained in players, and do it in a way that does not feel cumbersome or intrusive? For Call of Duty, we found that a combination of a few ingredients went a long way toward making a social space under match-based structural mesh well together. Number 1 was ensuring everything was as low friction as possible loading in, interacting with other players,